What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 102 of the GRP. Um, Dude, some crazy shit. Crazy shit's happening all around the world of MMA right now, in the fight world in general, combat sports, boxing, MMA, craziness all over the damn place. It's chaotic, it's hectic. It had me doing so much shit at the very last minute, trying to get everything ready, try not to miss anything. And then I realized I can't cover everything. There's no fucking way, because there could be shit happening right now and I don't know, which I will be checking my phone just in case. And then we'll do some breaking news if we get it. Obviously, everyone's getting it at the same time. I have no other sources. I just stay on top of things, and I have notifications set up for everything. So when it comes down to it, I try to stay on top of things, but you know, life in the world gets in the way sometimes. So when I'm at work, I miss things. But today has been nonstop. It's been hectic. There's been news left and right, especially towards the end of my working day, and all the way home, I'm like watching things happen. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I had to add a bunch of stuff in, which is fine. It makes it fun, you know, a little more hectic, a little more crazy, but we get it done. And yeah, and I thought I was not going to have much to talk about this week, because this week's fight is worse than what I even thought last week's was. We're just leading up to what was supposed to be one of the biggest fight nights in a while, especially leading into the next pay-per-view, which is the Saudi Arabia card for next week. And we got news on that today. That's one of the other things. Still decent fights on that card for next week, but yeah, not like it was. And there's just shit falling out left and right. Canceled fights, injuries, sicknesses, just all kinds of shit. So hang in there, because we're about to get into all of it. As far as everything else goes, not a whole lot. I mean, yeah, work is work, and that's really all I've been doing is working. So working and prepping for this, that's what, and then some trying to watch TV, and then my brain has not been able to calm down, especially last night. I just couldn't fall asleep for shit, and I don't, like, it wasn't anything to do with this or anything else specific. There's nothing like massive going on. I just couldn't go to sleep, and everything was bugging me. And then I finally get to sleep, and my dog Benny decides he's gonna scratch forever and shake his head, and his flappy ears are gonna make all kinds of noise. He's banging into the crate. He's not whining or anything trying to get out, but he, like 4 something this morning. I wake up at 5. So I'm like, God damn it, this fucking dog. The little one, who's a terror during the day, Jack, is like the one being crazy all throughout the day. But then Benny, who usually just sleeps and sleeps and sleeps through the night and doesn't bug anybody, doesn't have to get up and go to the bathroom or nothing like that. He just chills in his crate and goes to sleep and wakes up when we get up and want to get him out. And then half the time you got to coerce him to get out. And this morning, it wasn't like that. This morning, he wanted to be a pain in the ass and wake me up at 4 something in the morning. And yeah, it was tough to get back to sleep. And it's one of those things where you fall back asleep, and all of a sudden it's like, shit, there's the alarm. And then it makes you really not want to get up. But I did, and it kind of made today go long. So we're a man short for the guys at work, because one of them's having surgery. So good luck, Robert, out there. I don't even know if he watches or not, but I mean, he had a surgery today, so I'm hoping we get some kind of update, like, sometime soon, just to make sure he made it through all right. He's an older guy, so he's got health problems and stuff like that. So big surgeries. It was a decent surgery. He's gonna be out for a couple weeks, so we got to pick up the 1 man out thing. So more on call, and more if we have to go out of town, less people to choose from, all that. But as long as he's healthy, that's all good. So I'm hoping that he recovers well and stuff, and then just comes back to work. But yeah, that's one of those stress things that it's like, man, I hope nothing goes too crazy, and I hope they don't try to drop a bunch of stuff on us, because we're a man short. So yeah, that's about it though. I'm ready just to get into all this, because it's crazy, man. So much shit going on, and some juicy stuff to get into about, happenings within fighting, but outside of fighting, but within fighting. If you know, you'll understand when I get there. But let's take a drink and then let's get started with the normal and what's going to take up most of the time here in the beginning, combat sports news, because of all the craziness. And we're going to start with what I'm sure most people have been wondering: what the hell's happening? What's going on? Is it canceled? Is it not canceled? I just noticed something. Yeah, and Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler for UFC 303. No one knows. Still don't know. As of right now, so Ariel Helwani's been the main guy updating everybody. I know he knows because of the little hint he drops during his podcast, during his show. He does like 3 or 4 hours. He has guests. And he breaks any news he gets in the moment if he's able to. But he knows things, and he beats around the bush, and he leads you to, kind of think maybe he doesn't know anything, maybe he does, maybe he just doesn't want to say it. He said it out loud and straight up that he can't say something because it's not out there yet, and he doesn't want to burn bridges with his sources and stuff like that, but he still gives little nuggets here and there that make you wonder. So as of right now, it just seems like this fight's not happening, and I'm pretty sure that we're gonna get some announcements either tonight, maybe early tomorrow morning, or sometime during the day tomorrow. They do like to drop information at weird times, especially big ones like this. They dropped news earlier about next week's fight in Saudi Arabia, which we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, this fight's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I think the thing now is that it's going to be rescheduled for probably, we're looking like September, November is everything I've been seeing, everything I've been hearing. So if you're looking forward to watching Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler on June 29th, it's not happening. I guarantee it. So Trent says if it gets canceled, I'm going to be pissed. It's not canceled, it's postponed, but it might as well be canceled right now, because it's gonna get pushed, and it's not happening. It's not happening this month. So we're gonna be there's already talks about them looking into a replacement main event, and at first they were talking possible replacement for Michael Chandler to fight, someone that he can fight instead of Conor, because Conor seems to be the problem. I've heard everything from injuries to money issues, as in he wants more money. The last thing I saw was, he doesn't want, he's the one bringing in all the attention and all the butts in the seats and all that shit. They already have a set, the pre-sale for the tickets. It's already beaten the highest gate ever. So now what are they going to do? Are they going to refund everybody? Or, does everybody just have to suck it up and deal with the fact that they've already made the plans, their money's already invested for a fight that is not going to happen? So, and this is the main event, obviously, and the main attraction. Any card, that's something you can't deny. Any card that Conor McGregor's on, the main attraction is him. So it's not going to happen. This fight's not happening. And if it does, that's a hell of a miracle. But I don't think that there'd be such hush type shit around all of it if it was still happening. I think everything that Helwani was saying, and I picked this because it shows him, and I credit him with everything I've heard, everything I've seen. Any news of any of it has come from him. And that's what he does. This is his life. He gets paid to do this, and he's broken some of the biggest stories in MMA. So, like him or not, he does it, and he gets the info, and he has the connection. So, I get a lot of information from his shows and stuff like that, and his Twitter is nonstop. So I had, I'm gonna feature him because that's kind of what you got to do when that one person's the one breaking all the news, or at least keeping everybody up to date. So he says it's very much in limbo, which is what I've been saying. But before last week, he was, after all the press conference stuff and all that, everyone was like, "Oh, it's looking optimistic. Things are looking up. We're thinking it's going to be good." Helwani himself saying, "Yeah, everything I've heard is good. So it's on. It's happening." Connor's posting pictures, smiling in what looks like a medical facility of some sort, but you never know. And yeah, so we're thinking, okay, cool. Well, this week, not so much. This week, it all turned. All of the optimism is gone. And now it's like, what's going to happen? When are they going to tell us? When are they going to release it? And if you go to UFC, if you Google UFC events, it usually brings up a picture of the events. And those events will tell you like the bout orders, the main card, the undercard, all that kind of shit, right? But what's up, Infinity? Infinity's in the chat too. So it tells you the bout orders and all that stuff, right? It has been nothing but a fucking mess. Like a mess because they can't get anything in order. That's how you know everything's in disarray. They had one card, I think last week's card, when I was trying to prep for it, I always refer back to that because it's usually up to date, it's current, and everything's working. But like I would look at it and it was changing constantly. And on top of that, they had the entire fight card from top to bottom, prelims and all, under main event. I was like, what's really happening? Which fights are actually on the main cards? Oh, damn. Got the hiccups. That's what happens when I start talking too much without having been talking that much. I don't know how to explain it, but it happens every single time. This probably doesn't help, but you know what? It tastes good. And yeah, it helps my brain. Makes me chill a little bit while I go through this. But yeah, so everything on that page has just been fucked up. Basically, there's no easy way to say it. That's why the thumbnail says, "What the fuck is happening?" Because everything is in disarray. And this isn't just the UFC. The Tyson Jake Paul fight is all crazy right now too. And we'll get into that one. But there's all kinds of stuff happening. So it's just a crazy week for combat sports. And yeah, the UFC, I mean, I actually just made this available to me so that I can use some sounds during the podcast, because I use them all the time on Technically and Sound. I don't use them here that often because I have to scroll through different pages. So I made it a little more accessible. So all I can say to the UFC is, like, here we go. Get your fucking shit together, my God. Oh shit. I hope it played because I couldn't hear it. I'm not sure that it did. I might have screwed something up there, actually. But get your fucking shit together. That's what I'm trying to say. I see what I did. I don't have my monitoring on. That's cool. But anyway, let's see if I actually can use those from here on out and drop them in at certain times just to, add to the show like I usually do. The thing is, I'm so focused on talking about what I'm talking about. That's why sometimes I don't do extra stuff, because then it like screws me all up. I got too many things going on already. I'm always worried about the sound. Oh, good. Infinity said it played. I couldn't hear it, so I was wondering. But yeah, I'm always worried about the audio, the video, everything's working, the stream. Right now, it seems like everything's good, so that's good. But yeah, I'll incorporate those as I can, as I think of it in those moments. Maybe I won't be as quick as I am on the other podcast, but yeah, so everything's in disarray. And I don't think this fight's happening. Connor, Chandler, postponed, basically. That's the only upside, is it's postponed, not fully canceled. And it's probably going to be somewhere between September, November, somewhere in between those. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be as of right now. That's what the word is. So now they were talking about replacements, like maybe have Max Holloway fight in a BMF fight against somebody. Michael Chandler, maybe? No, because Chandler wants to hold off for Connor. So who would they fight Max against? Well, there's a couple different people that maybe you could put him up against, but Max should be fighting Ilia Topuria for the title, I think. But, you know, in a pinch, they have to get somebody out there. They got to get somebody to play. They got to get somebody to fight in this big card that everyone has paid for. And supposedly this gigantic gate, right? So then they're throwing around the ideas of Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira rematch because, you know, they're still the top two guys in the light heavyweight division. And, you know, people seem to think that a rematch would be good. Yuri's like, I'm going to come back, you know, and just be better. So, and Yuri's a beast. So, I mean, it could be worth it. It was a great fight. But, I mean, Alex just seems to run through everybody. And I don't know that that's the best way to go about it, but at least it'd be, you know, a pretty high-level fight. And for a title. Because he's the only one that's not matched up as of yet, even though he just fought not too long ago. But who knows? They already kind of somewhat have said that Ortega versus Diego Lopez is in the works for the new co-main event for UFC 303, which the co-main as of before was supposed to be, I thought it was, no, it wasn't Ian Gary. It was Jamal Hill versus Carlos Olberg. Well, apparently that fight's off too. And it sounded like it was on the Jamal Hill side. So this is what I'm saying. It's just non-fucking stop. So much shit. And I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just, I hope all the fighters that are getting injured get well soon, but holy shit, everything is getting fucked up. Everything is getting fucked up. So now they're talking about a new co-main. I looked at the card. Ian Gary versus Michael Venom Page was supposed to be on that, and I didn't see it on there. I'm gonna look again right now. UFC events. If you Google UFC events, it usually brings you right to the fight that's coming up next. You can look at the one after that, which is supposed to be Whitaker versus Chimaev. It's not anymore. So there's a little precursor to what I'm going to talk about in a minute. And then you get UFC 303, supposed to have Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler, Jamal Hill, Carlos Olberg, which, by the way, Olberg was already a replacement for Khalil Roundtree, who dropped dirty because of a tainted substance, or a tainted supplement with a banned substance on it. Nowhere in here do you see Ian Gary versus Michael Venom Page, and I could have swore that was already booked. So what the fuck? Am I wrong about that? Does anybody know? Does anybody remember? Let me look down the line. UFC 304. Nope, not on that one either. I thought the whole thing was let the Irish fight. You know, you get Ian Gary. He's an Irishman too. Conor McGregor is one of the people that he looked up to, that he grew up watching, that was like a, you know, one of the people that he wanted to emulate himself after. Not on the card anymore. So what the fuck is that about? What happened in that card? I haven't heard anybody talk about that yet because there's so much other shit going on. But that's a big fight. That was a big fight. Ian Gary versus Michael Venom Page. That was supposed to be fucking fantastic. Another great fight on that card because that card wasn't fully stacked. You know, it had Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, which we've been fucking waiting for how long? How long? Because Conor got hurt. Everything was happening. You know, well, he got hurt long before the fight was even made. Then they coached Ultimate Fighter last season. We waited almost 2 years. Now it's 3 years. Like, how fucking long are we going to wait for this goddamn fight? Now, different co-main events. Ian Gary, Michael Venom Page, not even on the fucking card. What is going on? Like, what is going on?
What?
I don't even know what to say. There's nothing to say because it's just continuously going downhill. Now, the UFC, give them credit. They always find a way. Not too many events have been canceled. I think there's only been 2, maybe 3 in the Zuffa era. In the, you know, I'm sorry. What is the new fucking, God damn it. I can't think of the name of who bought him from Zuffa. But since all that has happened, I mean, I think in this new era of fights, even with COVID and everything, you know, except for the very beginning, they still put on fights. You know, there was like 2 weeks of downtime and they were like, fuck this, we got to go. Let's get it. Apex. And they're still putting on fucking fights in the Apex. So they find a way to do it, and I give them credit for that, and I applaud them for that, because they were the only ones that kept it going during COVID too. So hell yeah. But here's the thing, how are you gonna dig yourself out of this hole? Because you have all of these fucking fights that are happening in the next few weeks, and there's shit happening to every single one of these fucking cards. All kinds of fights going down, all kinds of people getting hurt, and just other shit happening. So I hope they pull the rabbit out of the hat, because they need to. And you know, it's super questionable right now, and we're not getting anywhere. We got only some answers, and that is, you know, what the one thing that Dana came out and said today, earlier, a few hours ago: Khamzat Chimaev out of the Saudi Arabia card, which is next weekend. So that's Whitaker versus Chimaev, and this says rumor, but it's now confirmed. Dana White went and was like, "What's up, guys? Just so you know, I have bad news." You know what I mean? He's like always fucking screaming when he starts his videos, and he's the unfortunate thing is Khamzat is like horribly sick in the hospital apparently, and I saw this shortly after I saw, you know, the announcement. So is Ikram Aliskerov is taking the place of Khamzat Chimaev to fight Robert Whitaker for the main event of that Saudi Arabia card next week. That's going to be an early card. And see, they postponed this card already because the Saudis were not happy with the card that they put on before. So they pushed it so that they could get a better card. They had Khamzat. Khamzat's one of the bigger international fighters against Robert Whitaker, Bobby Knuckles, badass motherfucker, fight anybody, and that's what was supposed to happen. Now Khamzat's like super ill, and he's in the hospital. That's what this picture is. Serious medical emergency, once again in the hospital. That's, you know, and when back in the COVID days too, he got super fucking sick. He basically almost just retired because he couldn't even pull it together. Like, he was constantly sick. He came back too quick from having COVID, and he worked himself too hard, and then he depleted everything and wound up in the hospital, and then had to cancel a fight, and, you know, just continuously was sick. So this dude has serious health problems, and he's one of the, you know, he's gonna be one of those fighters that everyone's gonna ask, what if? Like, what if he didn't have all this sickness and all these things surrounding him? He's had visa issues, he's had all kinds of stuff. So I mean he's been fighting like once a year tops, so he's always gonna be one of those fighters that you're gonna ask, what if he was healthy, what if he fought, you know, 2 to 3 times a year consistently, could he have been a champion? I mean, there's still time, don't get me wrong, but how sick is he? How long is it going to take him to recover? You know? So there's all these questions in the air, and the biggest thing by far, of course, please, Khamzat, get better. You know, he's in the hospital, he looks laid up, like, damn, that doesn't look good. You know, I mean, of course they could have taken this picture, you know, might be a little out of context, just dude's tired, Khamzat's just wrapped up in a ball, but he's in the hospital. So yeah, some people go to the hospital for fucking shit all reasons, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be there if he didn't have to be. So Khamzat's out. Ikram Aliskerov, who was supposed to fight this weekend, is now fighting next weekend in fucking Saudi Arabia. They talked about Imavov. I mean, yeah, they talked about Imavov trying to take the place, but he just fought last week against Cannonier, and yes, he won, but it's not like he didn't get hit at all. It's not like it was super dominant, and we'll get into that one, of course, on the recap, but just craziness, man. So here it is. Robert Whitaker versus Aliskerov next weekend, Saudi Arabia card. That card, the main card starts at 12 p.m. Arizona time. So account for your own time zone if you're somewhere else. But yeah, Arizona time, it's at 12 p.m. That's when the main card starts. So we're looking at like a 4:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30 end time, maybe 5 o'clock. Depends on how things go, how fast the fights go. And it looks like there's 5 fights on the main card. And there's canceled fights there too. Sheriff Bullet Magomedov was supposed to fight Ihor Pretoria. That's out. Is he still on the card? No. So even under everything else, there's other fights falling out that we're not even talking about because of the just heightened state of like panic that everybody's in. And all of the other shit. You know, UFC 303 is taking the cake on media and everything else, but now we have all these other things dropping out. So who's gonna tell us what the fuck is happening? That's what I want to know. And all of this leads into something else I wanted to talk about, which was this show that dropped last week on the Roku channel called Fight Inc. Inside the UFC. Now, this is like a behind the scenes look at what happens when fights fall out, what happens while trying to make fights. Dana White and Hunter Campbell and all the matchmakers, you know, Sean Shelby and the other guy, I forgot his name already, but Mick Maynard. Yeah, all those guys and how much they stress, how much they got to do to put shit together. I mean, Dana White doesn't just fucking get in front of a phone and say, "What's up, everybody?" and start screaming into the phone. That's not all he does. He really does do a lot of shit, and he really does help put fights together. You see him getting, I mean, it's crazy. You see him go into a break room looking cafeteria area where he's talking to Khabib Nurmagomedov and fucking what's his face, fucking idiot guy, god damn it, Khabib's fucking manager or whatever, god damn it, I forgot it. Ali Abdelaziz. So that guy fucking talking to them about like what could happen here, what could happen there. Khabib's like not letting Ali fucking talk at all. He's like, hey, you shut up, let me tell him. And he fucking breaks it down, and Dana goes back to the war room with Hunter and Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby, and he's like, hey, Khabib just said this and this, and that makes a lot of fucking sense to me. It's like crazy to watch all this go down, right? So you start wondering, you get that conspiracy theory hat on, and you're like, wait a minute, are they just trying to hype up this goddamn show? Like, there was 3 episodes that were like an hour long. They called it season 1. Is this gonna be season 2, the fucking making of all this bullshit? Because it's a hell of a show, I'll tell you that. It's a hell of a show. It's definitely something that's keeping my attention, keeping the attention of other people in the MMA sphere of you know, interest. All the hardcore fans and shit. Like, this is what I do every week, is try to gather all the information, try to gather the news, try to talk about everything happening. So that show, and shout out to my sister Nina, she's the one that pointed it out to me. I knew that this show was going to be coming out, and when she sent it to me, she's like, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I thought I'd send it to you. I was like, hell yeah. Like, thank you. Because initially I was like, yeah, I've seen that. But I was at work and I'm looking, and I just saw it real quick, a picture that she sent me, and I was like, yeah, I've seen that. What the fuck? And then I start freaking out because I'm like, whoa, hold on. What did that say? I look back, I zoom in on the picture because she took a picture of her TV screen. It was like on the front page because I think they have Roku on their TV. And I'm like, whoa, I haven't seen that. So I start Googling real quick, and I text her back. I'm like, no, thank you, because I have not seen that. And then I realized it just came out that day. Like, she texted me midday when this came out. So she was on top of shit. I mean, obviously she turned on her TV, it was there, and was like, hey, Eric's gonna want to see this. And for sure. So thanks to Nina, shout out to her for, you know, hooking that one up. But yeah, so that night I came home and I started watching it, and what was that? Was that last week? Shit, I think that was on the weekend. Yeah, because I was, it was, I think it was Saturday or some shit. I don't even know. Either way, I'm watching Fight Inc. on the big screen. I'm watching the prelim fights on the little screen next to me, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm just immersing myself here. Nothing new, that's what I do. But this show was nuts, like in a good way, because you got to see a lot of behind the scenes shit, and you get, this is the war room, and you can see Dana and Hunter Campbell's the guy with the glasses. We all know who Dana is. Hunter Campbell's the chief, like basically like the lawyer guy, but he does all kinds of shit in the UFC. So he used to just be like the chief like attorney for them, handles all the legal shit, and now he's just fully immersed in talking to fighters and getting fights together. I mean, he's doing a lot. So if Dana goes away, Hunter might be the next guy in line. That's what I've seen everyone saying everywhere, and I agree. Just especially after watching that show, you hear his name thrown around left and right. But I just picture them in the room like this, because this is when I believe John Jones got injured, and they had to tell him that the doctors wouldn't clear him, that he's going to need surgery. So they're waiting on John Jones here to walk in the room to let him know. John didn't even know. So it was crazy to see the dynamic between things and what happened and how it went down. And then I'm just watched all of it, right? I just watched all of it, and now all of this shit's going down. And it's like, woo, this makes this show so much more appealing, and it makes it make so much more sense, puts everything into context. And then you start wondering what's happening in the background, what's happening in that fucking war room. Everyone's phones are going crazy. Everyone's trying to keep things under wraps, trying to not to tell the wrong people, trying not to be overheard, like trying to make sure everything stays in-house until it's time to release it. So let's go. Let's fucking go. Release the information. We need to fucking know. I already had to do a bunch of changing of my shit for today. The prep work happens from Sunday to fucking Thursday. And then the show hits Thursday, so I keep going, and I had a lot. Luckily for me, I had a lot of shit prepped ahead of time, but then I started hearing things, and I'm like, oh no, this is gonna go down to the fucking wire, like down to the wire. There's been so many times that I'm sitting here eating dinner in front of everything here because I'm trying to get everything together. I'm trying to update all my shit. Breaking news here, breaking news there. Oh no, I gotta add that in. I can't just talk about that. I gotta show something. And maybe that's just me being fucking crazy about it. I'm looking at my phone because I just realized that I hadn't looked in a minute, and I gotta make sure I'm not missing anything. But yeah, that's the kind of shit that happens. That's how it goes. And so I'm trying to keep up with everything. I'm just, refreshing feeds like, hey, anything new? So right now there's a PFL card happening, which I didn't cover at all. But there's a PFL card happening right as we speak. So there was some crazy fucking homeboy hits a left fucking hook, drops dude, and dude that gets dropped was in the midst of kicking. So as he's falling back, he's throwing a kick that lands on the other guy's cup. I apologize. I don't know who these guys were because I didn't even stick around to see. But yeah, so it was like almost like a double knockdown, except one was a cup shot. So it was fucking crazy. And the dude that kicked the other guy in the cup, that saved him because he got dropped and he was out of it. He got up thinking he won. Like, it was crazy. I don't even know what the outcome of that was because I couldn't follow it because I was just too busy doing everything else. But so yeah, this show, Fight Inc., on the Roku channel. If you don't have Roku, you can find it on Fire TV, and on a Fire Stick, on a TV that has a Fire Stick, whatever. You can probably go on your phone and find it on a tablet, on your computer, doesn't matter. Roku channel, found it on Fire TV, downloaded the app, and just played it from there. So 3 episodes, good shit. Little perspective into what's happening in the background right now. Obviously a little bit different because this is probably way more hectic and way more stressful, but you get a little taste of what might be happening in the background right now. So I highly recommend it, and go check it out. So the UFC, man, it's a fucking crazy whirlwind roller coaster fucking emotional, stressful, if you're as embedded in these things as I am, I'm like, go to bed thinking about it, wake up thinking about it. I'm like, what's gonna I know I'm gonna go to bed tonight and be like, what am I gonna fucking miss while I'm sleeping? And then I'm gonna wake up in the morning and grab my phone, turn off the alarm, and be like, what did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? I know it sounds fucking ridiculous, but it's the truth, and it's my life. It's what I do. Maybe I'm a little pathetic about that, but it's my passion, right? And I do something with it. It's not that I'm just a fanatical, crazy person. I actually do something with all of it, and that's this. You know, the outcome of all of my craziness that happens is this. I put my knowledge to work. So, yeah. Off of the UFC for a minute. Let's move on to Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Another thing, another one. What am I doing? This is exact time when I should play something.
Another one.
There it is. I'll get used to that. I'll be smoother with it. But yes, yet another one. Canceled, postponed. We weren't sure. We didn't know what was going to happen. We have rumors left and right. What's happening? Is it off? Is it not off? Yes, as of now, the fight's off for July 20th, but the new date is Friday, November 15th. Went from a Saturday to a Friday. They're keeping it at Arlington at AT&T Stadium, live on Netflix. But what happens to July 20th? We don't know yet. I haven't seen anything about it, except for there's a possibility that Jake Paul might fight Mike Perry. Now that would be nuts because Mike Perry is the king of fucking BKFC right now, the king of bare knuckle boxing. So that could be crazy. I mean, it would definitely be a regular boxing match, right? Because that's what Jake Paul was getting ready for. Jake Paul's definitely the A side, whether you like it or not. But they're trying to put that together, maybe. So is it going to happen? I don't know. Are they going to keep that card afloat and July 20th and let that be the first card? Didn't sound like it from everything I heard leading up to even the new date that they announced, but for now we wonder some more. We continue to wonder what's going to happen. If this fight happened though, it would be pretty exciting. I'm not gonna lie, and I would watch it, and it would be free on Netflix any goddamn way. Because I have Netflix. If you have Netflix, it's free. Otherwise you got to pay for the subscription and then you get it. But that's that. So at least we know as of right now, in November, we get the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. Will it be worth it? Will anybody still be interested? I'm sure they will be. I will be still, but I'll be wondering the whole way through and to the lead up, is it going to get canceled again? Or is it gonna, go away again? Who knows? We'll find out. But staying on the Paul brother tip here, this picture looks a little weird, right? We got Logan Paul. And if you don't know who that is on the right hand side, well, if you're not immersed in the influencer community and if you're not on TikTok a lot, you might not know who this is. It's Bradley Martin. He owns a gym called Zoo Culture, and that's because it legit is a culture of weightlifting. He is kind of a bodybuilder type. As you can see, he's pretty big. He's pretty ripped. Now, he's big in the way of being a little thicker than Logan Paul, but he's not really much bigger than Logan. He's the guy that wants to challenge everybody to a street fight because he's 260 pounds. And, that was like his catchphrase, like 260, meet me at 260 or some shit, like, I don't know. But that was his thing. So he's got a bunch of influencers around in that gym. That's his gym. He's just upgraded lately, and it's all over the place. It's all over TikTok. All kinds of influencers are always around him, like Sketch. If you know Sketch, he's been around him. And if you don't know who Sketch is, you will.
What's up, brother?
Just by hearing that.
Special team, special plays, special players.
Tuesday. Anyway, and Bradley Martin has a podcast as well, which I've shown you clips of here and there when he had Nate Diaz on, stuff like that. He always has fighters on talking about fighting. Well, this was a culmination of that podcast. or actually a podcast that Bradley Martin was on, where he talked about hoping that Jake Paul got knocked the fuck out. So, of course, Logan wants to be the white knight and come to the defense of his brother, which I don't know why, because a lot of times they're at it with each other. But these two decided they had beef, right? And they wanted to solve it. And this is highly unusual in the influencer world, because usually they're all talk, right? But Logan Paul has boxed professionally before. Maybe not professionally. It was exhibitions. But either way, he boxed Floyd Mayweather, Dylan Dennis. He's had boxing matches, KSI, stuff like that. He was doing it before Jake did. So, you know, they got beef. They're talking shit. And, UFC sent the reel by Dana White. We might have to see this real quick. This Conor McGregor. Oh shit. Here it is. Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, UFC 303 on June 29th has been canceled. What? Oh, the fight has been canceled. Oh shit, I thought they said the whole thing was canceled. The new main event is Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska. Like I said, for the fight for the light heavyweight title. McGregor versus Chandler will be rebooked later this year. The fight has been pushed because McGregor suffered an injury right before last week's press conference in Dublin. Well, that explains all of it. Is that the 100% truth? That's all we can go off of, right? Everyone involved, the UFC McGregor paradigm, which is Conor's, you know, public, whatever, his like agents and shit, right? Did everything in their power to save this. It didn't look good initially. Then it didn't. It did look good initially. Then it didn't. Then it did. And finally it didn't. The plug was officially pulled a little less than 48 hours ago. There weren't a ton of options. Pereira versus Prohaska was always a top choice. Feelers were sent out last week, but there were hurdles. Mainly, Pereira is in Australia on a seminar tour and is getting over a couple broken toes, which he had happened in the last fight. But he stepped up again. Prohaska was in right away, and so it's set. UFC 303, the 29th of June, in a couple weeks. Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight championship. So there we go. They heard me. No, nobody fucking know. Nobody knows what I'm saying. But there you go. You just got breaking news right now. Right fucking now. There it is. So let's see. Let's see what this reel has to say. I always want to know what Dana has to say. Hold on.
And Conor McGregor is out of 303 versus Michael Chandler with an injury. The new main event is Alex Pereira, former not only UFC middleweight champion, he's also the first and only fighter to win both middleweight and light heavyweight titles in UFC history.
Yeah, we know.
He also did it in the shortest amount of time. He did it in 736 days and 7 fights. He finished 7 of 9 wins by knockout, which is a 78% finish rate, and won 10 of his last.
I mean, he is good at
fights.
talking it up. I'll say that.
Former UFC light heavyweight champion Yuri Prohaska, who has an unbelievable 23 first-round wins. He has 25 by knockout, 3 by submission. That is a 97% finish rate. The co-main event will be number 3 ranked Brian Ortega, who has the second most submissions in featherweight history and the second most submissions in featherweight history. He won Performance of the Night 8 times, and he will be taking on rising superstar Diego Lopez.
Okay. So we got the main event, we got the co-main.
With 10 knockouts and 12 submissions, that's a 92% finish rate. Also, Jamal Hill is out with a knee injury.
Fuck.
So, Carlos Auburn, who is 11-1 and has 6 first-round finishes with 7 wins by knockout.
Give us the opponent.
2 wins by submission and an 82% finish rate. And he's on a 6-fight win streak. Will now be taking on Anthony Smith.
Anthony Smith against what the fuck? Against Carlos Auburn. I don't know about that one, man. But Anthony Smith just gotta win. All right. There we go. Breaking news. All right, peace out, Infinity. Infinity saying he's got to go. So there it is, breaking news on the fucking spot. I knew it was gonna happen tonight or late tonight or early in the morning, but there it is. So now we know. That's fucking crazy. Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor off the table. Not happening this month. Sucks for everybody that had tickets. Sucks for everybody that had plans, hotel rooms and fucking plane tickets, flights set up, people coming from overseas. I want to know what happened to Ian Gary. I mean, am I fucking wrong? Like, I could have swore that Ian Gary versus Michael Venom Page was supposed to be on UFC 303. I actually want to Google that right now because that's how much I just don't get it. And I'm sitting here breaking all this news, that we just heard while I have two fucking influencers on the goddamn screen. But that's okay. Ian Gary versus Michael, if I could spell, Page. What happened to this fucking fight? Was it just in the works, maybe? Gary says he's not remotely interested. That was on May 31st. But then it says Ian Gary talks about his upcoming fight with Michael Venom Page. See, UFC 303 may have a few fights in jeopardy. Okay, this was an article from somewhere else. The fight between Ian Machado Gary and Michael Venom Page. This will be a fight in the welterweight division. It will show a class set. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So see, it was supposed to happen in 303. So what? Somebody fucking tell me what happened to that fight. God damn it. Whew. All right. Well, whatever. We got the news we were waiting on. There we go. Breaking here right now. If you're watching live, you heard it live. And if you're not watching live, well, you're hearing it now if you haven't heard it already. So don't forget to like and subscribe. But let's get back to this. What we were talking about. Because I've just been going. I mean, I'm almost an hour in and I haven't even recapped. We'll get through the recap and we'll get through the preview of next week or this weekend coming up. But let's get through this first. I got a little bit left here, and then we'll be on to the two events. So yeah, Logan Paul, Bradley Martin, beefing it, and on Logan's podcast, he calls Bradley and tells him, hey, if we want to do this, because on Twitter, Bradley said, let's do it at Zoo Culture. Here we go. Let's just watch the video.
Good, bro. Are you ready? All right, we got waivers. Yeah. Okay.
Signing waivers.
So we're doing that? My thesis is you have cameras everywhere in this gym.
Yeah, but I agree to not post anything.
So they're citing waivers because that's how they figured this is how we can do it. This is how we can all get away with it. No, if anybody gets hurt, it's liability waiver. They don't have to worry about it. Whoever gets hurt, you're doing it at your own risk, right? It's kind of waivers you sign when you go into a gym, when you go into a fighting gym especially. But they signed waivers. They said, fuck it, we're gonna catch this fade, and whoever gets injured, it's on them. No one's gonna sue. No one's gonna call the cops. That's the way it's gonna go. And then they agreed to not do any posting on social media, none of that. So nobody knew this was happening. So let's keep going.
This doesn't say that.
Make it say that. I'm down for whatever you want to do like that.
But you don't want to film it.
I didn't want to film it. No.
But you also wanted to fight in front of the Zoo Culture.
I said no cameras, no content.
Be in front of Zoo Culture.
Yeah, no cameras, no content. This is specific to that.
So of course, this is the only way we're watching this because Logan came in with a guy with a camera, and Bradley wanted to do it in front of Zoo Culture, which obviously, if anybody saw that there was a fight happening, they'd be running over, knowing what Zoo Culture is, especially running over with a phone in hand, ready to record whatever. So, yeah, I mean, why? And then why are you gonna? Okay, I get it. Street fight, yes, street fight. Let's do street fight rules. Like there is none really, or whatever. But let's not actually fight in the street when you two make a lot of money, and you're gonna bounce somebody's head off the fucking asphalt and die. Because that's what happens when you fight in the street. If you haven't heard, if you haven't seen some of these videos of people catching fades, they're all over TikTok. Go just Google it, fucking search it, check it out. You know what I mean? But let's keep watching.
So if we're going by the tweet, and that's what we're going by,
No cameras.
let's pop. No cameras, no content. We'll stop. We'll pop out front, like in the tweet.
Okay.
Wait, why? No, why? You do it on the ground or is it soft?
See, and that's Mike, who is part of Logan's podcast, like Logan's right-hand man. I forgot his fucking last name. He's an influencer guy too. He's all over the place. But he's trying to talk sense into him because I was watching all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Okay, so they filmed on the way over to Zoo Culture. Logan and Mike are talking in the seat. There's actually a post of them talking to Logan's manager, and his manager's like, you guys are fucking idiots. Like, what are you doing? Mike's like, no, I'm just there to make sure everything's cool, plus it's content. And it's like, you guys are fucking dumb. So, people didn't want this to happen, but it happened.
And then you got on your podcast.
Signing waivers.
Why did you say that?
Here we
Why
go.
did I say what I want to see Jake Paul?
Yeah. I thought you. Yeah, but I thought you and Jake are cool.
We are, but by the same token, like, if you really felt that way about me contacting you directly, you would have just contacted me directly, not got on the internet. So
Yeah, so, I mean, come on. Both of you go on the internet and say shit all the time. Bradley, that's where the fuck this started. You said you wanted to see Jake Paul get knocked out. Whether or not it's for content, you fucking went on a podcast and said that. Watch what Logan says.
So when you said that about me outwardly,
Generally, when someone says something live on a podcast, it is fair game to reciprocate that live on a podcast.
yeah, it's fair.
Good point.
No.
But to say you could have texted me, because I didn't think it was, when I said it, I didn't think it was like some malicious bad thing.
But that's my.
And that's true too. You know what I mean? Maybe he said it in jest. It is content. It's exciting for people to hear. Hey, Bradley Martin wants to see fucking Jake Paul get knocked out. Whatever. Logan Paul gets his panties in the bunch. And he's like saying here, which you'll hear him say in a second, but that's my family, bro. And I get that too. I see every side here. I see every angle. Listen, if you're going to do it, let's just fucking do it. Stop the talk, which they do, and they will. But I'm just going through what they're saying. And also, this is the podcast world. They both have podcasts. I'm in this world because you're watching a fucking podcast. And I follow all these things. Like, I follow all these things, whether you might think I'm stupid for it or not, whatever. All good, your opinion, you can have it. But I follow all these things because both these fools are mixed up in circles of people that I pay attention to and listen to. Podcast world, MMA world, fucking everything, right? So, yeah, let's keep going.
Family, bro. And yes, I haven't always been the best brother ever.
And hold on, I want to stop it right there because that hits on a point I made a minute ago, which was I don't know why he would get so butthurt about it when he talks mad shit about his brother too. But listen, that's how siblings are. Like, hey, I can talk shit all I want, but you're not going to talk shit because I'll fuck you up. So I get it.
Right? But I think that's part of me being a big brother. I fuck up and I'm working on all of that.
I respect it.
But I have to stick up for Jake when I can.
I get it.
Even if I don't always do it myself. But again, I'm working on all that shit.
Yeah. I respect you. Hope you know that.
Thank you. I respect you too, Jack. For real. This is
So
cool.
let's
I
go
like the
get
new
it.
location.
Thank you.
Let's fucking
do
All
it.
right, so let's head.
let's see
So
what
we
it's
can
about.
let's go. Let's leave.
260, bro. Cameras down.
There it is.
Good.
And then it happened. So that's what that picture you saw me right before this, that's what it was. It was them after the fight. There was a post. That's the first thing everybody saw was this post, and Logan's like, "Whoo, I can't believe that just happened. Like that was good shit." And Bradley's dapping him up, saying, "Yeah, same thing." And then Logan turns around, looks at the camera, goes, "Thanks for letting that happen," because nobody recorded it. Now, did somebody have something underneath? I wouldn't put it past Logan Paul and his team to someone have had a covert camera and ready to bring it out when Bradley wants to open his mouth again or some other shit comes up, right? Because that's what these fools do. Now, did Bradley really turn off his cameras? Because he does have cameras all over Zoo Culture because it's a fucking influencer location. Like, everything's filmed for a reason because they all use it for content. So, who knows? It'd be interesting to see how it went down. I heard a breakdown. Logan Paul talking to Jake Paul over FaceTime, breaking down the way the fight went down. Sounded more like a wrestling match. It sounded like Logan got some hits off on Bradley. I saw both of them what was seemingly the very next day, and neither one of them, even in that picture, even in the first video we saw from right after it was over, and they're shaking hands and shit, no one looked like they got fucked up. They just both looked tired. And Bradley Martin said that himself, that he was gassed, he was winded. That seems to be the case. Now he's training. Logan actually said there was an extended video from after the fight, and Logan actually said, "Hey, I got something for us if you really want to do it again." Because Bradley was like, we should do it again, but we should do it legit, like for real, like in a real fight. And Logan's like, I think I got something. I'll let you know, but I think I might have something for you. And Bradley's like, for real, like legit, me and you? And he's like, yeah. So who knows? Maybe we'll get something down the road. Keep that in your memory bank. We'll have to see what happens down the road with these two guys. It was interesting though. It was cool because these influencers like to talk a lot of shit, and then when they get smacked up, they want to cry about it. And it's like, well, if you're gonna talk about it, then be about it, motherfucker. So they actually did it. I commend them for that, whether it was kind of a boring little, tussle and that's it, or if it was legit, I don't know. Mike, Logan's buddy, was talking it up like, hey, I respect Bradley for actually doing it, blah, blah, blah. The way the breakdowns went down from everyone talking, didn't sound like it was an all-out brawl, but fuck it. They got it in, so I guess that's it. Moving on to somewhat more legit, not really though. Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva in a boxing match happening this weekend in Brazil. And it's not getting televised anywhere here in the U.S. Not getting streamed anywhere here in the U.S. So unless somehow, some way you dig and find some kind of a fucking broadcast from it, that would be great. But it almost sounds like... Heard a weird noise. But it almost sounds like this is like some kind of weird private event. So maybe that's why it's not going to be televised. Who knows? Either way, Chael Sonnen is fighting Anderson Silva for the third time in their careers, which they're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame this year at the end of this month, actually. So they're going to fight each other. And then they're going to fucking go to the Hall of Fame later this month in a couple weeks. So it's a boxing match. Who knows how it's going to go? Chael winning, being Chael, talking mad shit. Being respectful though, but also just playing things up and yeah, it's weird. But there's not even any promotions that I've seen, promotional stuff. I haven't seen any posters or nothing, but I wanted to mention it because it is interesting. They have a Hall of Fame fight going into the Hall of Fame, like the fight wing of the Hall of Fame this year in a couple weeks, and they're fighting. So it's kind of crazy. All right, so let's get into the recap real quick of this past weekend's fight. Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. Like, it wasn't the best night of fights ever. It started with a lot of decisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fucking decisions in a row to start off the card. Now, the very first fight of the night was the debut of the first Indian woman fighter. Okay, so she's from India, Pooja Tomar. Not sure if you saw it considering your podcasting, but ESPN just announced it officially, and Dana White just announced a new main event. Subs came back in late. So, oh yeah. So I played the video, Trent, and like I played the audio from the video, put it in the mic and listened to it on the pod. So if you scroll back a little bit, you'll see that I did that. But thank you for updating me anyway. Trent's always got my back. She had to jump out for a minute, so she came back and didn't know if I covered it. So yeah, Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight, and then Ortega versus Lopez. Yeah, we got it. And at least now we have the fucking news. It's about time. So anyway, yeah, I mean, so the first Indian woman made her debut in the UFC and won. She got a split decision win, but seemed like she did fairly decent. So there's that. But like I said, 6 decisions in a row. Cody Stamann lost to Taylor Lapilus. Now I got the hiccups. Denise Gomes versus Eduarda Mora. Split decision win for Gomes. Daniel Marcos versus John Castaneda. Unanimous decision for Marcos. Montana De La Rosa versus Andrea Lee. Split decision win for De La Rosa. And Brad Katona, 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner, versus Jesse Butler. Brad Katona gets a unanimous decision win there And that brings us to Carlos Prates versus Charles Radke. Prates gets a lot of knees in on Radke and winds up getting a KO or a TKO by knee to the body. So as you can see here, he's kind of landing like on the shoulder chest area, but he came back with a nasty fucking knee, which I don't know if anybody got any pictures of or anything, because I stopped putting clips on here because I kept getting fucking copyright infringement bullshit. So I keep to the pictures, but I didn't find a picture of the actual knee to the body. But he threw a nasty like knee to the liver of Charles Radke, got him out of there. TKO 447 of round 1. So that was finally broke up the monotony of the decisions. And then we went right back to it. Ludovic Klein versus Thiago Moises. Unanimous decision win for Ludovic Klein. And then we get to the main event, which somehow I forgot to put in the unanimous decision win again. Punahele Soriano versus Miguel Baez. Punahele Soriano gets a unanimous decision win over Baez. Nothing crazy there. So second fight on the main card, we had TKO by uppercut by Zach Reese against Julian Marquez in 20 seconds of the first round. This was a quick one. It was a nasty uppercut that you couldn't even see until the replay got put up there. It was a quick short uppercut by fucking Zach Reese to Julian Marquez, and fucks him. Doesn't fuck him. That's not what happened. I meant to say, I was blending all my words. I meant to say gets him out of there early in the first round. 20 seconds, done for. Zachary Reese gets that win. Dustin Stoltzfus versus Bruno Fajeda. This one, another first round finish. Stoltzfus was looking good in the beginning. I mean, it's not like he was getting pieced up right away, but I mean, it almost got to the end of the first round. 4 minutes and 51 seconds is when it ended. Bruno Fajeda came in with the fucking elbows, this nasty spinning elbow. Stoltzfus with that big ass cauliflower ear, looks like he's got blood behind it even. But yeah, Bruno Fajeda spinning fucking elbow to the chin, followed through and gets the KO right here. You could see Stoltzfus's face. Holy shit. And yeah, that was it for him. KO 451 in the first round. Bruno Fajeda with that win. Then we get to the 19-year-old Raul Rosas Jr. versus the Ultimate Fighter winner Ricky Tercios. This one went to the second round after a couple of first round finishes. This was in the 135 bantamweight division, and Raul Rosas Jr. coming off a win. And he likes throwing those flying strikes, like throwing up a flying knee, just everything. He does it all. He likes to be exciting, which is cool, and it's good for his career for sure. But yeah, I mean, he's only 19 years old. Got his first fight in the UFC at 18. Fought in Dana White's Contender Series at 17. He's 2-1, so he had that one loss, but he came back and got a big win at first round KO when he came back from that loss. So, and here he is doing it again, but in the second round. 2 minutes 22 seconds in the second round, he gets a rear naked choke in on Ricky Tercios. So this is what started, getting him on the takedown there, picking him up, taking him down, and then he sinks in that sub rear naked choke. He actually had it before, and Tercios got out of it, but then Rosas found his way back into position and sinks in the choke, gets the win, and does some weird shit in his post-fight interview in the cage, where they like Paul Felder asked him something, and he goes, "Chee-wee-wees." I don't even know what the fuck that means, but it's everywhere. Like, it just keeps playing over and over again. Helwani had it all over his show. They had a fucking sample of it and everything. Rosas goes on the show and tells Helwani to say it. Like, it's fucking everywhere. I mean, he's a kid. He's 19 years old. Like, I mean, and he looks even younger than that. So I guess it's something him and his friends say. I bet you there's a meaning behind it. that he's not letting anybody know. That's why they think it's so funny, and that's why he's trying to get everybody else to say it, because there's a hidden meaning there. I guarantee it, and it's an inside joke with him and his friends. And however stupid it might be, they're getting a kick out of the fact that it's getting played on national television, and all these high up people are saying it. But yeah, that was a good win for Raul Rosas Jr. They're looking at putting him in the spear for that September card, that Mexican Independence Day card. So that could be a big one for him, and that's a good place for him because he is Mexican. So, and his family comes directly from Mexico. So let's move on to the co-main event. Dominic Reyes versus Dustin Jacoby. Dominic Reyes coming off that horrible fucking 4-fight losing streak. He's, been injured, had the mental block from fighting ever since he fought John Jones and lost that close decision where a lot of people thought that he won, including me. I felt like it should have been a win for Dominic Reyes with an automatic rematch for John Jones. Would have probably humbled Jones a little bit and maybe kept him away from some of the shit that happened after that. But either way, Dominic Reyes needed this win big time. Dustin Jacoby was on a 2-fight losing streak going into this one as well, I believe. This was the co-main event in the light heavyweight division. 2 minutes of the first round. 2 minutes into the first round, Dominic Reyes finally breaks that nasty losing streak, puts the hurting on Dustin Jacoby, and gets a win by TKO, punches and knees. Reyes finally gets a win and says he feels better than ever, and he's finally getting back into the groove, and hopefully going to put together a good win streak and make his way back up to being a contender and fighting for that title. That leads us to the main event. Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov. Cannonier looked good in this fight. I mean, he's the 40-year-old fighter in the middleweight division fighting against Imavov. I don't know. It always sounds wrong in my head, whichever way I say it first. But Imavov is 28 years old fighting a 40-year-old. I mean, Jared Cannonier doesn't really look like he's 40. He looks like mid to late 30s. Not far off from what, 40. But, once you hear 40 in the fight world, it's like, God damn, this fool's still fighting. But, yeah, I mean, Cannonier looked good. And, he was putting in work, and him and Imavov were going back and forth. Jared landing those big strikes to the head and to the body. And then even, got Imavov down, big exchanges here and there. But then we had a weird ending when Imavov started turning it up and putting it on Cannonier in the fourth round, because this went to a minute 34 into the fourth round. Nasruddin Imavov gets a TKO win by punches and knees, it says. But here's the thing. Cannonier landed the last strike. That was good. And, I mean, he did get wobbled. He did get stumbled by Imavov, but it wasn't like he was down. Jason Herzog just kind of, I don't know what it was, but he decided to stop it. I guess he thought he saw enough. But Cannonier was perfectly fine after the stoppage. He was still on his feet. He just called it a standing TKO for Imavov, and he gets the win in the fourth round. And I just feel like it was kind of a bad stoppage. I think everyone's in agreement there. And yeah, they might need to run this one back or something. But I don't think Cannonier can fall off too far after a weird stoppage like that. So that does it for last week's event, UFC on ESPN 57. Now we get to UFC Vegas 93, back to the fucking Apex. Not a very deep card here with all the craziness going on around everything. There wasn't a lot of attention taken away from this card because there wasn't a lot of attention on this card. I hate to say it. So, what do we got? Alex Perez versus Tatsuro Taira. And Taira's undefeated, 15-0. So, against Alex Perez, 25-8. So yeah, I mean, this should be. I mean, Perez is coming off a win, but I mean, it's a single win. Where before that, I think he had like 2 losses in a row. But he did look good in his last fight, and Tyra's one of those guys that a lot of people are high on and hyping up. So that's why they made this. Tyra's number 13 ranked, and Alex Perez is number 5. So they got to think highly of Tyra, considering the lower ranking or the higher ranking there. However you want to think of it, the double digit ranking compared to the single digit top 5 fighter that that is his opponent. Let's look at the undercard. That first fight, never really heard of either one of those, but Josephine Knutson, 7-0 versus Julia Polastri in the strawweight division. Melquizel Costa, man, these are some tough fucking names. I might not even. That's a featherweight fight. I'm gonna get to something I don't know a lot of these people on this card, man. Then again, it's one of the in-between cards leading up to the pay-per-view, and that's what you get a lot with these crazy weeks of fights, and when they start running out of the big names to put on. But this card is quite a bit more confusing now because of the fact that Ikram Eliskar, you know what I'm saying? What the fuck is his name? I can't think of it. Ikram is now off this card. He was fighting I don't even remember now. I mean, Jesus, it's just, there's so much. Ikram's off the card though, so now it's a little confusing. This was one of the fights that the UFC's website was just had all over the place. It didn't know who was who, what was what. I saw 4 different websites with 4 different main cards as far as who was featured. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add in a couple, and we're gonna get to possible main cards. I heard Brady Highstand on MMA Roasted, and he talked about the fact that he wasn't even sure if he was in the main card or the featured bout on the prelims. Back and forth. Maybe he was saying that because he kind of knew what was going to happen. I don't know. But either way, I'm going to feature a couple of these fights here that might be in the main card, might not be. Might be just main card, or could just be the featured prelim fights. I don't know, but let's get to it. Adam Fugit versus Josh Quinlan. Fugit is 1-2 in the UFC. Fuck. Versus Josh Quinlan, who weirdly looks like what's the DJ's name that throws cake at people's faces? Fuck, why did I forget his name? I looked at him and thought of it automatically, and I can't remember his fucking name. What is his name? God damn it. Trent, are you still listening? You would know. Steve Aoki. Never mind. I just thought of it. Steve Aoki. Josh Quinlan looks like Steve Aoki. It's weird. Anyway, this is a welterweight fight happening. 6-2 for Quinlan. Overall, 9-4 for Fugit. Let's see. If you look at their records, looks like Fugit has more KO TKO wins than anything, coming off a loss. Quinlan has more KO TKOs for wins over anything else. He's never been submitted, and he's never won a decision fight. So that might not be good if it goes to decision for Quinlan, because it doesn't seem like he wins those fights. But he hasn't lost by submission, and Fugit has 3 submission wins, but 1 submission loss as well. So that might be something to look at. Let's see who Fugit's loss was to that he's coming off. Mike Malott. And it looks like Fugit is, he's 1 win, 1 loss. I mean, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss in the UFC. So that's how and it's been all finishes, whether he won or lost. So that's kind of how he fights. Let's see what we got for Quinlan. Josh Quinlan, I think he was coming off of 2 losses in a row. 1 by decision, 1 by TKO to Danny Barlow and Trey Waters. But his single win in the UFC is to Jason Witt, and that was a KO win there. So that's one fight. Who knows if that's on the prelims or the main card? Don't know, because UFC can't get their fucking shit together. So let's go to the other one that's in question. One of these two might be on the main card, and if not, then the rest of it will. Brady Hiestand versus Garrett Armfield. This fight is happening in in the bantamweight division. Hiestand 7-2 overall, 2-1 in the UFC. A lot of these guys have only a few fights in the UFC. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is one of those cards that they put together because they had nobody else. Like, they have to put the lower level guys, instead of just putting them in the prelim, they had to have it keep going into the main card. I mean, most of these guys only have like 3-4 fights in the UFC overall. So, but it looks like Garrett Armfield 2-1 as well. I do kind of want to make sure of that, because it seems very weird that this. No, I mean, that's legit. 2-1 for fucking Hiestand. Let's see. He's got everything's kind of even. 3-1 KO TKOs. He hasn't lost by sub, but he's 2-0 there. 2-1 by decision, and he's on a 2-fight win streak. And then Garrett Armfield as well is 2-1. 6-0 in KO TKO, so that's a pretty good stat right there. 2-2 in subs, pretty even, and then 2-1 in decisions. He's also on a 2-fight win streak. So I mean, this could be interesting. Brady Hiestand seemed like a good dude when I heard him on the podcast earlier. His last 2 wins were Batgirl, Dana, and Fernie Garcia. But his 3 fights in the UFC, 2 decisions and 1 TKO. The TKO was a win. The other 2 were decisions. And then Garrett Armfield is also 2-1 in the UFC, and is also on a 2-fight win streak against Brad Katona, which you see here. So he beat a 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner by unanimous decision. And then Toshiomi Kazama is his other win by TKO, and then he got subbed in his first fight in the UFC by David Onama. So, yeah, I mean, that could be a decent fight. Let's move on to Asu Almabayev versus Jose Johnson. Again, some guys I don't really know much about, man. Like, and look at these records. 2-0 in the UFC for Asu, and 1-1 for Johnson. So, yeah, I mean, pretty similar ages, pretty similar overall MMA records, except Almabayev is 3-1 in KO TKOs. Johnson's 8-1, 9-0 in subs for Asu. So there you go. That looks like his strength. 3-4 in submissions for Johnson. So there's a stat right there that is pretty big difference. I mean, the KO TKO one as well. Because Johnson has 8 wins by KO TKO and only 1 loss, and Asu has only 3, but it's still a winning record. But I mean, that's a big difference in submissions there. And also decisions, 7-1 for Almabayev and 5-3 for Jose Johnson. They're both coming off a win. Almabayev is coming off a 2 wins in a row. Let's look at his previous fights. CJ Vergara and Ode Osborne. Looks like I fucked up, because he's actually 2-0 in the UFC. That makes more sense. Did I say that? Who gives a shit? Anyway, 1 win by submission, 1 win by decision. His last fight was March of this year, and there's a big knee there to Vergara. And then Johnson is got that nasty toes digging into the side of the body there against Chad Anlanger. That was a submission win for him in the 3rd round. And he's actually, and then Damon Blackshear, he lost by submission by a twister. Actually, that's kind of crazy. And this was against Blackshear. So he's a Dana White Contender Series guy as well. He was on there a couple times, actually. It looks like he lost his first one and then came back and won to get into the UFC. So yeah, there's that fight. That one's definitely on the main card from everything I've seen. So let's move on to De Silva de Andrade. His full name is a lot, actually. Let's see, Douglas Silva de Andrade. versus Miles Johns. See, and these are all out of order actually, because this one's showing like the co-main event on the webpage I'm looking at, Sure Dog, and but yet on the UFC page it said that this was the third to the last fight. Let's go back here and look. That's what I'm saying. UFC events page is all fucked up. Yeah, so that's what it shows here. I usually go by the UFC page, but maybe I should have known better. Anyway, De Silva is 29-5, so that's a lot of fucking fights there. But he is 38 years old, 7-5 in the UFC. 20 KO TKO wins to Miles Johns, 5-2. I'm sorry, 4-1. So 20-1 for De Silva, 4-1 for Johns, and they both are 2-1 in submissions, and 8-0 by decision for Miles Johns. So it looks like a lot of his fights go to decision. But I mean, 7-3 for De Silva as well. They're both coming off wins. Miles Johns is about 8 years younger, and has a lot less fights overall. But De Silva is a Brazilian guy coming off that win over Cody Stamann by unanimous decision back in May of last year. He has a loss to Said Nurmagomedov. And yeah, I mean, a lot of decisions in his record as well. So, I mean, if it goes to decision, Miles Johns is undefeated there, but don't know if he can get past De Silva and those 20 fucking TKO KO wins. Miles Johns does like to throw hands, but his last win coming over right here over Cody Gibson by unanimous decision. Go figure. Before that, he had a no contest. That was an overturned fight. And so technically he's kind of on a 2-fight win streak because that no contest was overturned, which means he lost that one, I think. But yeah, I mean, I just nothing really stands out in this card. Honestly, it's, you can say what you want about it, but it's a filler card, and it's happening at the Apex. Tatsuro Taira is one of the guys considered a phenom right now, so that's really, I mean, Alex Perez is good too, but he's coming, you know, he had some losses there and then is coming off that win, so maybe that's what's making it a little more attractive of a fight. But let's move on to what might be the main event, I mean the co-main, but I don't even know at this point. Timothy Cuamba versus Lucas Almeida. As you can see, Cuamba is pretty new. He doesn't even have a normal picture. Like, I couldn't find one. Of like, I mean, it looks like he has one UFC fight. So, and he's 0-1 in the UFC. Yeah. UFC Fight Night, February of this year. Bolaji Oki, he lost that by split decision. He was on Dana White's Contender Series and won a fight there. But, yeah, he's 8-2 overall, 0-1 in the UFC. 4-0 in KO TKOs, 0-1 by sub, 4-1 by decisions, and he's coming off a loss, his only fight in the UFC. Lucas Almeida is 14-3 overall, has a losing record as well, 1-2 in the UFC. Again, with these very low count fights from the UFC, you know, guys that have UFC fights. 9-1 by KO TKO, so that's good. 5-1 by subs, and Cuamba doesn't have any wins by sub, so there you go. That could be a favorite for Almeida. And then 0-1 in decisions. So Cuamba definitely wins more by decision. But Almeida's coming off a 2-fight skid. And let's see who he lost to. Andre Fili and Pat Sabatini. Those are pretty good opponents there. He lost to Sabatini by submission, lost to Fili by TKO. And then his one win was a TKO win over Michael Trezano. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're going to get here. Here's Cuamba at Dana White's Contender Series and Almeida with a big punch there. That's kind of a crazy picture. But, yeah, I didn't know what to feature with these guys. You know, they both have losing records in the UFC. And just passive. That's all I can say. No disrespect. It's just, I mean, I think we all kind of know, like, these are filler fights, really. And it's a way for these guys to get on a show and be on the main card and just, you know, continue to build their records. So, I mean, I'm for it. Don't get me wrong. It's a fight night. It's another week of fights, and I appreciate it. but it's tough to cover because there's not a whole lot going on with it. Just being real. So let's get to this main event and wrap this fucker up. Alex Perez versus Tatsuro Taira. It's hard to say it because it like you want to say something else the way it's spelled. But Perez is definitely older. I'm about 8 years older than Taira. A lot of fights too. 25-8 for Perez. To Taira's 15-0. Undefeated. So Perez is trying to take that O away from Taira. That might make this a very interesting fight. I mean, Perez is talented for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. Just because I was talking about him having lost, doesn't mean he's a bad fighter. But he was on a three-fight losing skid. So that's tough. Mohamed Mokaev, Alexandre Pantoja, and Davison Figueiredo. Fucking, those are big names though. Mokaev is a contender. Pantoja is the current champ, and Figueiredo is the former champ. So, I mean, he has a win over Jussier Formiga, Jordan Espinoza, and Mark De La Rosa. But, like those are his 3-fight losing streak was 2 big names. So it's, and then he comes back and gets a big win by KO in the second round over Mateus Nicolau. So that's a decent name too. There's a pic of him with Figueiredo. And then, just some extra ground and pound there. So I mean, he is a good striker, and he has fought some names, so he's got the experience, and he's a good fighter. But what's he gonna do against this younger guy who's undefeated and hoping to keep that streak going? That's the big thing. That's what makes his fight tough. But he is the number 5 ranked. Jesus, what fucking weight are they fighting at? Oh shit, they're at flyweight. Yeah, so he's a number 5 flyweight. So I mean, he's got to uphold that so he doesn't let Taira take over that ranking, or at least catapult him up higher, especially because he's ranked at 15 right now. So Tatsuro Taira, I don't know that I've ever even seen him fight, honestly. I think I might have once, but nothing that I can remember. So again, that's just, there's so many fucking fighters on the roster. It's super hard to keep up with it. But let's see, he is on 5-fight win streak in the UFC, but he's 15-0 overall. So he hasn't lost in 15 fights. His last fight was a TKO win over Carlos Hernandez. He's got a win over CJ Vergara. And I mean, that's really it when it comes Edgar Chairez too. But couple decisions, couple submissions, and then a TKO. For Taira. So yeah, we'll see what we get from this one. I mean, that's a big kick there to Vergara. That wound up being an armbar submission win, but that's a nasty kick to the chin there. There's your armbar. That's a horrible haircut for him too. But and then there's a big punch there for him. But yeah, so let's see what this main event gives us. Hopefully some fireworks, because of all the other news going on. It's been overshadowed. So much other stuff happening all around combat sports, but especially in the UFC. So we'll see if these guys can pull through and make it an exciting weekend. Let's see if the UFC website can actually... Yeah, it is a 7 p.m. Start time for the main card, which means the prelims will be on about 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. So check it out. Don't miss it. If you want to watch fights, if you're not interested in the fighters, I get it. No big deal. But we're gearing up for that Saudi Arabia card. Maybe not as big as Whitaker versus Chimaev, but I mean, Ikram Aliskerov, comes in, saves the day, gets off of this card, which wasn't too fantastic, and gets on that Saudi Arabia card against a bigger opponent as well, because he was fighting like an entry-level guy that just got into the UFC. Doesn't even really have... I think it might have been that guy's debut. So Aliskerov gets catapulted to a big fight on and the main event. So he was the co-main. Now he's the main against Robert Whitaker, of all people. So good for him. Good luck. I'm rooting for Whitaker, though. Whitaker's my guy. I like Bobby Knuckles. He's cool. And I've always rooted for him. Except maybe for Izzy, because I have liked Izzy for a long time too. But Robert Whitaker's a good dude, and I'm hoping that he has a good showing here. And yeah, we'll come back next week. We'll recap this fight. We'll get into any other crazy combat sports news that might be happening, and we'll preview that Bobby Knuckles fight going on against Ikram Aliskerov, Saudi Arabian card, midday, happening not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So come back next week. We'll talk about all of it. I appreciate everybody that was in here this week. If you're not watching live, thank you for watching back or listening back after the fact. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when I go live or when I post any videos at all. On YouTube, come back next week, same time, same place. And don't forget, on Spotify, you can watch the video or just listen to the audio. You can find me anywhere else you get your audio podcasts. Hit me up if you can't find it. I'll tell you everywhere that it's at, and I'll get it wherever you want it if it's not there already, or I'll try at least. So anyway, I always put the audio version up within the hour of getting off the live stream here. So I'll be working on that as soon as I'm done. So that's it for me. I'm out of here. Let me see if I have anything to, drop off with. And I do. Here we go.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Peace out. Enjoy the fights. Take it easy. Be aware of all the crazy news going around. Keep an eye out. Come back next week. We'll talk about all of it. I'm out of here. Have a good one. Peace.